International speaker and executive coach Bonnie Marcus has helped thousands of high-achieving women navigate their career and learn the rules of the game. GPS Your Career, a woman's guide to success, provides professional women with expert advice and resources on topics that are critical to career advancement and business growth. Tune in now as Bonnie and her guest help you successfully navigate the workplace today.
This is your host, Bonnie Marcus. GPS Your Career gives you the tools and resources to be successful in your career. And each week, I interview top leaders, women leaders, authors, and thought leaders on topics selected specifically to help you grow professionally. In my career, I've run a national company, led national sales efforts. I've worked in startups and Fortune 500 companies. And I started my own coaching practice in 2007, focusing on helping professional women promote and position themselves for advancement. My website, womensuccesscoaching.com, has lots of great resources for you. I offer free weekly career strategy tips, and when you sign up on the home page, you'll also get a career success scorecard. And this is going to help you to figure out where you need to focus your efforts to move your career forward. I love doing this radio show. I meet fabulous people and learn so much every week from my guests. If there are topics of interest that you would like me to explore on the show, or perhaps you've read an outstanding book, you'd like to learn more from that author, please email me with your ideas, Bonnie at womensuccesscoaching.com, or through the network website, www.bemajor.org. That's BEmajor.org. And I'm always looking for new ideas, new topics, and guests. Today, our topic is creativity and innovation, and both are critical for organizational growth and successful careers. I think most of us understand this, but we don't know necessarily how to unleash our natural creative potential. We're focused for the most part on getting our jobs done, getting things off our to-do list, and we don't have a lot of time for creativity, and often we're too stressed to take the time to find out what that creative potential really is. Creativity and innovation will differentiate you in the workplace, so it's really important for your career success to learn how to tap into this. And today, my guest, Madan Birla, author of Unleashing Creativity and Innovation, 9 Lessons from Nature for Enterprise Growth and Career Success, is going to help us to discover how to tap into that creativity within us, and then how to build our reputation as innovators in order to advance our careers. Madan is an author, speaker, and strategist for companies around the world. He was a veteran of FedEx. For 22 years, he was a member of FedEx's Long-Range Planning Committee, where he worked very closely with the founder and CEO, Fred Smith, to develop and implement innovative business growth strategies. His book, FedEx Delivers, How the World's Leading Shipping Company Keeps Innovating and Outperforming the Competition, has been translated into Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, and other languages. Unleashing Creativity and Innovation, his latest book, was released last year in 2013. And his website is innovationculture.com. Madan, welcome to GPS Your Career.
Thank you, Bonnie.
It's really great to have you on the show, and I love this topic because I think that most of us are so focused on doing our job, our to-do lists, everything that we've got going on in our lives, that we don't really take the time to discover what our potential is, what our creative potential is. I'd like to start off by asking you first and foremost, is everybody innately creative?
The answer is yes. And the way, you can really define that is because, certainly when we go to work or even off the job, we do our task ahead of us, and certainly we need the paycheck to pay our bills. But we feel most fulfilled, when we are making a difference and we had an idea. So the simple way to think that we are creative is that we all have ideas. And when I talk to CEOs around the world, I ask them one question, what keeps you awake at night? And invariably they will say, Madan, for us to compete in this global economy, to change. And change means ideas. So that's what my goal in writing the book was, working at FedEx, an innovative company, and working with Fred Smith, one of the innovators in the business world, that it really is nothing complex. It is just, what if we look at it this way? And I know we're going to talk about what if more. So we all have ideas, and those ideas are maybe not all of them are creative, but, that is the starting point. More ideas we share and more creativity we unleash.
Do you find that most people think that they're not creative at all?
Yes, some, and the answer I give to them is what you are telling me is that, you are really not human. You just have a mask. I mean, if you look at creative thinking is thinking. We all think. That's nature of mind, and it is thinking all the time. In fact, we are thinking three things. So if we can think, we can think creative ideas. So creative ideas is everybody looks at the same issue and the same problem, and creative person says, what if? So you are connecting some dots the way they have not been connected before, using your imagination. So we have the imagination and we have the knowledge, so we just have to learn to connect them differently, when we are looking at an issue or a problem.
And this is,
I can give you a real-world example. Like, I finished school in Chicago, and I was working at RCA, and this is early 70s, and we were looking at automating the picking and packing operation in the warehouse. These are Elvis Presley records and tapes and CDs. And so the system which the consultant came was doing its job, but it had put all of the what we call selections, all the music CDs in the system, and that raised the cost. But when you look at the top 40, in the early days or even now, 80% of the sale in the music is 20% of the top hits. So I went to my boss and I said, what if, Dale, we designed the system for the top hits, and that way we captured 80% of the saving and reduced the cost. And it wasn't anything, inventing a cell phone or something. It just I had knowledge of this 80-20 principle, one of the classes in school, and then I looked at this situation and I looked at the data, and that was the reason behind my first promotion at RCA.
I love that story. I love that you shared that story because I think it brings up an important question for me. That idea that you came up with required you to see the bigger picture. Look at what the issue was, what the potential was to improve that. And I think, most of us are focused on just going and doing the work, and we don't see that whole bigger picture. We don't see how to get out of the box. And so I think that's the challenge. That's what I'd like to explore with you is how do we move from just doing that job to seeing the bigger picture, getting out of the box.
So, if we think that, who makes decision about our promotions, moving up the ladder, taking on more responsibility, so then the answer is our bosses. So then you say, if I can meet my boss's needs, and then you say, it doesn't matter what level you are. I was at the senior level or middle level, and I started as an engineer, and I was working with the founder of this $45 billion company, is that all of the bosses get paid for, they get for growing the company. So the question you ask is, what is the purpose of any business? The purpose of any business is to create and keep customers. Unless customers are walking in and giving packages to FedEx, there is nothing for us to do. So you are right. Sometimes we get into a functional orientation. That's the word I use in my workshop. I was at University of Miami last month, and I did 5 workshops for undergrad and executive MBA students. And So what we have to do, to answer your question, is to move from functional to business orientation. That means we start to think at a higher level, at the business level. And the purpose of business is customer. So then you say, what am I doing which directly relates to enhancing my company's customer value proposition? So you still do the work, but you start to arrive at your work differently because you are thinking, I'm doing this task, but the bottom line is how does it improve answering the phone sooner or shipping the packages faster or improving our marketing or our advertising or warehousing. So then when you go to your boss and say, I was in Chicago, and I'll give you, this was a real example. I was in Chicago at the airport, and next time I saw in a meeting Fred Smith, I said, Fred, what if in Chicago, the plane arrives at this time, and we are doing the sorting at this time? What if we look at arriving the plane 5 minutes early so we can give more time for the Chicago traffic and we can make a 99% service level? So it is, once you start to think, then you look at your work sort of in a bigger picture mode.
So what are some of the common barriers? What really prevents a lot of people from moving in that direction?
I think the common is that, certainly we are doing the task and we have the to-do list and and it is just making a very conscious decision that I am going to, even though I work in this function and we call it silos, but I'm going to make it a point to understand the total business process. How does company make money? Let's just say in case of FedEx, so from package pickup to delivery, what is the total business process? And yes, I do a function of marketing, or in my case, it was planning facilities around the world. But then if I know the total, then I can guide my group to look at what happens after we do our job, what happens in the hub, what happens when the airplane arrives in Japan, the custom clearance. So it is, don't confining yourself saying, well, I just work here and this is my job. Take time to learn what happens in the total business process. So then you are thinking like your boss is thinking or the senior management is thinking about the total business. So I think it is, Bonnie, the simple answer to your question would be, it's just making that is the key. If I want to take the business to the next level of growth, then I need to learn about the business in addition to my function. And that could be as simple as what I did is just having lunch with my peer directors. So I told my secretary, I had 8 directors I was supporting when I first came at FedEx, that, make sure once a quarter I have lunch. So 2 things happened in those. One is we develop a personal relationship, and that would relate to, when we talk about how to gain acceptance of your ideas. And second, I learned, what at a detail level they do. So what I'm doing, makes their job easier.
I can't agree more, because I talk a lot with my clients about understanding, their value proposition. In other words, how they contribute to the success of the business and connecting the dots that way, how what they do in their work benefits the business. So we're really talking about connecting the dots in a very similar way. But I think it begins probably with perhaps a shift, a mindset that
exactly.
You do have the potential to impact the business, and your contribution is important. Wouldn't you agree that's kind of the first step?
That's the first step, and people kind of shortchange themselves. You have to say, okay, yes, I started as a marketing analyst, but I am as capable of as anybody else, running the department or even moving up to the vice president. So then once you say, then the next step you say that I'm going to start to think and operate that level even before I get the position. Because the management is looking at, who do we want to give more responsibility. They are watching and they are saying, she's already thinking at that next level. So why don't you take on, this function or that area? So